Let's lower the lights for a second and just listen. We are about to step into a world of shadows, ancient curses, and, well, some serious supernatural suspense. Today in this explainer, we're unpacking a truly cinematic, terrifying story drawn straight from the dark heart of Indian folklore. It's a tale called The Whispering Yakshini, and it's this wild, perfect blend of psychological horror and a tragic, centuries-old romance. I mean, have you ever felt it? That invisible presence in the dark? You know, a sudden drop in temperature, maybe an invisible hand brushing your shoulder, or just a shadow lingering right beside your bed. These aren't just modern anxieties. These are primal fears. Fears that have literally fueled human storytelling for millennia. So today, we're looking at how this specific piece of folklore connects those very real, creeping psychological fears we all have to a deeply rooted mythology. In India, there are stories that never die. That's how our source material kicks off, and it drops us right into the visceral, sensory details of one of these stories. Picture this: a terrifying midnight bus ride through a stormy, completely forgotten forest in Madhya Pradesh. The rain is just absolutely crashing against the windows. The passengers, dead silent. And our protagonist, a young guy named Arav, is sitting in the back watching the nervous driver frantically check the clock. It's a total masterclass in building dread before the real horror even starts. Section 1. Whispers in the Dark. The arrival at Bhairavpur. Okay, let's dive into this. The journey ends violently when the bus suddenly halts at exactly 11:47 p.m. for a woman standing outside in a white sari. But she's completely barefoot and her eyes, they're completely black. Then she just vanishes. And right then, Arav realizes the impossible is actually real. He eventually makes it to his destination, the cursed village of Bhairavpur. And the atmosphere is just dead. The streets are choked with this thick fog, the village dogs refuse to make a sound, and the locals, they're staring at Arav with absolute terror, whispering that the bloodline has returned. So why is he even here? Well, he's holding a cryptic letter from his grandfather calling him back to the village. The terrifying catch? His grandfather actually died 3 months ago. And that letter contains only one terrifying sentence: do not let her wake up again. Shortly after arriving, Arav runs into Zoya, this mysterious local girl wearing silver anklets, and she urgently warns him to leave before sunset. It's right here that the narrative drops a chilling piece of lore Arav's grandfather used to tell him. Some entities, some women in these stories, they aren't born. They are summoned. Section 2. Myths of the Forest. Unveiling the entities. Let's pause the chronological narrative for a second to really dissect the supernatural entities at play here. First up, we have the Yakshini. In the story, at exactly 2:13 a.m., Arav follows this beautiful, haunting singing voice out to an ancient well. He sees that same woman in white with the silver jewelry. But then, the illusion breaks. From the black water of the well emerges a horrifying face with broken teeth and glowing eyes, calling out Arav's name. The Yakshini represents psychological horror. She uses beauty, temptation, and obsession to trap her victims. But then, the earth literally shakes. And from the forest emerges our second entity, the Brahmarakshas. Look, this isn't about temptation anymore. This is pure, visceral, physical horror. The text describes a massive, giant shadow with burnt skin, long claws, and burning red eyes. It runs on all fours, and it's way too fast for any human to escape. And this brilliantly illustrates the terrifying duality of the threats hunting Arav. On one side, you have the Yakshini, psychological horror, beautiful but absolutely deadly, driven by these complex emotions of love and betrayal. On the flip side, the Brahmarakshas, pure physical horror, a brute demonic force driven entirely by ancient evil. And the most terrifying part for Arav? These two completely different entities are somehow working together. Section 3. The Cursed Bloodline Returns, a 200-year-old secret. To understand why they're working together, Arav enters a hidden room in his grandfather's haveli. The air in there is just thick with the smell of burnt incense. Surrounded by black candles and ancient symbols, he finally finds his grandfather's forbidden diary. This diary reveals a terrifying timeline. 200 years ago, Arav's ancestor actually summoned the Yakshini using forbidden rituals just to gain wealth. But the ritual took a huge turn. He fell in love with her. It kind of proves that even ancient demonic rituals can get complicated by romance, right? Anyway, the villagers found out, murdered the ancestor, and trapped the Yakshini in the well. But before she was sealed away, she swore to return for his bloodline. Here is the shocking twist, though. The village priest reveals the Yakshini doesn't actually want to kill Arav. Because he shares his ancestors' bloodline, she believes he's her lost love reincarnated. She literally wants to marry him. From there, the supernatural escalation is rapid. Arav starts hearing heavy footsteps and dragging nails on the roof right above him. In the village, a young boy gets possessed, floating 3 feet in the air, screaming in a female voice that Arav belongs to her. We also learn a really tragic secret. Zoya's mother was brutally killed by the Yakshini years ago for trying to protect Arav's family. Now, Arav and Zoya are completely isolated, and the entire village is just terrified of what's coming. Section 4. The final choice, the underground temple. The full moon has officially arrived, and Arav and Zoya are forced to face the climax in the exact underground temple where the original ritual happened centuries ago. The chains snapped. The full moon triggers the curse, and a massive iron chains in that underground temple just break by themselves. Outside, the village is completely under siege. Both the ancient Yakshini and the massive Brahmarakshas have launched their final, terrifying assault. The monster roared. Stone is exploding everywhere. The sky is completely swallowed by darkness. The Brahmarakshas is literally tearing the village apart. In a desperate bid for survival, Zoya attacks the Yakshini with a dagger, blessed by both the village priest and the local imam. But the darkness only deepens. It's not working. So, the crucial point is, how does Arav respond to this totally impossible situation? He realizes he can't fight with brute force. Step 1, he steps directly between Zoe and the deadly Yakshini, completely sacrificing his own safety. Step 2, he looks right at the spirit and demands that if she ever truly loved his ancestor, she has to prove it by ending the curse right here, right now. What happens next is this emotional, really astonishing resolution. For the first time in centuries, the Yakshini sheds real tears. She finally realizes the cycle of pain has to end. With just a single raised hand and glowing ancient symbols lighting up the sky, she turns on the Brahmarakshas. Flames consume the demon, the ground cracks wide open, and the Brahmarakshas vanishes into the darkness forever. The Yakshini looks at Arav one last time, whispers, "My story ends," and just fades away like mist in the morning sunlight. Section 5. The Lingering Shadows, the Epilogue. But as with all great folklore, the story doesn't wrap up quite as neatly as we might hope. Let's fast forward. 1 year later, the village has mostly returned to normal, though people still whisper about hearing singing near the forest during the full moon. The Yakshini's final words, "My story ends," resonate so deeply because they highlight the real tragedy buried inside this psychological thriller. You see, this wasn't just a monster story. It was about a spirit trapped by a broken heart and an endless cycle of betrayal. It's a haunting reminder of exactly why these myths endure. They are profoundly human at their core. Yet, the source material leaves us with one incredibly chilling final image. Arav still dreams of the beautiful woman in white standing by the well, smiling sadly at him. And every single time he wakes up from that dream, he opens his door to find impossible, barefoot, wet footprints. Footprints leading away from his room, right back toward the dark forest. And that brings us to a provocative thought to leave you with. Are some ancient secrets better left buried in the dark? This explainer walked us through the terrifying power of myth, the weight of ancestral sins, and the chilling idea that maybe, just maybe, the past is never truly gone. It just waits in the shadows. Thank you for joining me. And the next time you hear a creak on your roof after midnight, well, I'll let you decide what it is. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.